As I do with most of my projects, I started building this board sometime last year, then got distracted with another project and put this one aside. My local game shop will be running a Mordheim event pretty soon, and I agreed to bring my board. The problem is, I don't have one, which means I need to work pretty hard to get this thing done. Fortunately, for two of the four boards, I had already gotten the bases done. This is a very basic layout, but a good place to start. I got my work cut out for me.
So I cut this down because one, it'll make it easier to move around and transport and store, but also so that it can be more dynamic. I can slot them in together in different ways so that it can be used multiple times, setting up different boards, having different games to play it on. This means I will have to design each one separately, but I think that will end up being for the better. First thing I want to do is trim the exterior of this paper, of the cardboard, so that I can sandwich in more of the foam around the side, so I can add a brick pattern on the outside. One, so that this can be all sealed in, but two, if I ever want to use this as a razor on top of one of the other squares that I do, this will already fit in with the rest of the terrain. So I added some more brickwork here, clean this up, added to the back as well, right there. So it looks more uh, official, I guess. Now, what I want to do is I want to design a road here that comes in over here, comes around here, but also goes this way and then that way. And so I have a couple tools I want to use. I made this, sharpened the wood so that I can press it in and create a texture of bricks. And I also have this one, which is more rectangular, while the other one's square. And this one I want to use for the road itself. The other one I want to use for the main areas where buildings will end up going, and up there too. So first I will lay out the road, then I'll do everything else.
While I'm proud of my little creations, the volume in which I had to make these brick patterns was so high that I ended up giving the knuckles of my thumbs rug burns. If I end up doing this again, I am definitely going to take more breaks instead of pushing myself through it. With the brick texture finished, I started to paint the whole thing with a mixture of black paint and Mod Podge. After looking at this pink foam for so long, it was really nice to be able to start covering it over with paint and seeing it all come together a little bit more. I still had 2 more boards to finish, so I'll take any victory I can. I decided to break up the color of the road bricks and the building bricks with an underpainting of gray for one and terracotta for the other. I thought that this would help make sure that the board itself would stay interesting to look at, no matter what buildings I ended up placing on top of it. Next, I started painting over the gray bricks with a little bit of turquoise and magenta to give it some diversity, like I do with most of my stonework. I think this is kind of like the funnest part of it, going around just throwing paint all over the board. Very therapeutic. After that, I took a dark wash and covered the whole thing in it to unify the colors and mute some of those very bright ones so that it didn't look so cartoonish and more worn down. With that done, I put the board aside to dry and started working on the next 2x2. Instead of working on the other pink foam and cardboard one, I decided to test my skill with this styrofoam since it's the perfect thickness and I have way too much of it in the studio. The suite next door to us did some renovations a while back and threw away these 8x4 sheets of insulation that they were using to dampen the sounds of their incessant music and was the only thing keeping us sane on our side. Now we have to listen to the same song over and over as they teach these infants what music is. I'm not mad. No. No matter how many times I have to listen to the name song every morning, I'm not mad. Anyways, here's me measuring for a canal or something. Styrofoam is relatively annoying to work with, especially if you don't have anything to cut it with, like a hot wire or something like that. My goal is to find the optimal way to use it so that I don't have to deal with the sea of white particles that keep forming around me whenever I carve into one of these. If any of you have any recommendations or techniques that may prove useful, please comment on this video with them. I bought this battery-powered Dremel tool in the hopes that it would make cutting and carving and small detail work easier. This is the first project that I've used it on, and I will say that it's not very powerful, which I guess should be expected for a battery-powered device, but it couldn't even cut through the paper tube that I was using for this board. I had to use my box cutter and carve away at it for like a good 10 minutes in order to split it in half. It's pretty good for this sort of thing. Definitely made a big mess, and I will not be using it to do this again, but it was useful for carving away at this tunnel here. I'm just hoping that these blades are durable enough that they won't wear down on such a simple job. It did come with a couple extras, but you never know.
This is what I got for my board right now. Those are my main buildings right there. I need to finish this area. I have a lot to do. But I have this whole area here that needs something, and up here that needs something. We have stairs that go down from this piece down to here. Same as over there. I'm gonna put some like trash terrain that's kind of like falling down there. And then this is one of the areas that I have. We have waterway, lightning there. Waterway going underneath there, turning and coming out this way. So I have this bridge that comes here. I want to do a bridge going this way over that direction, and then chop this up so that it fits in this area better. Have some buildings over here. Don't have anything right there yet, but I have, this will probably need to be replaced with something that's actually finished. But there's this building here. So this is the one I'm happy about. I have this area here that I want to do a walkway over to here, scaffolding that passes over this building, over to here, and then up to here, where there's a nice platform for stuff, and probably have maybe some like really long precarious walkway go this way, and then something to go down so that you can get down from here. This goes through over to here where people can walk, and then they can walk all the way over to there around that building. And that's what we got. This one here needs just to be painted on the outside, and the back of it's blasted out and has a lot of spots to play with. This area is pretty open. I kind of wanted it open, but we'll see what people want. They want to add terrain there. But that's pretty much it right now. Those buildings I'm gonna have done early tomorrow. And I'm gonna do resin in the canal so that that'll have water in there. It's a lot of work. I don't have a lot of time, but I plan on getting this done before Saturday, no matter what. I have 1, 2, 3 buildings that are pretty much done. 4 buildings that are pretty much done. They need a primer, paint, and then done. And then it's just these 2 boards. The resin's the only thing I'm a little worried about. I want to do it today before I leave the studio, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. Um, if I don't do it today, I have to do it tomorrow night. And that just means that if there's any problems, I'm just going to have to deal with it on Saturday morning because the first game starts at 10:30. So let's hope I can do this in time. Yes. All right.
In order to finish the canal board, I had to do another round of, you guessed it, bricklaying. I switched up the handhold for the wooden stencil because my fingers were hurting so much from doing the other boards. I cut down the handles and glued it to the bottom of a paint bottle so that I could hold the paint bottle in hand and stamp down as I went. Ended up working really well. Once I was done with that, I went into the primer, putting down the black paint and Mod Podge, covering as much as I can of that. And with the little dead body that I wanted to put in there, I just gave it a little bit of a coat and then threw a bunch of paint and Mod Podge in there to kind of create some mud around it to blend them in.
All right. We got most of the terrain painted. These houses are crap, but they are probably the best I can do right now. Now I need to do one last thing before I leave and go home and sleep. Is I need to fill this with resin. So I'm going to pour some into a cup. Probably add some paint to it just to give it a little murkiness, a little bit of green. And then I'm pouring it in and then I gotta go because it's already like midnight. So, and then I have to go take the train home. So let's get this done.
At this point, I was pretty tired and kind of just eyeballed how much resin I was going to need for this. And you can see that the paint that I used in it didn't really mix well, but I thought that would be okay because it's a sewer. This water should be like gunky. And for the most part, I think that part looked good. So once it was done mixing, I started pouring it in. Taped up each end of the canal as best as I could so that none of the resin would pour out. Foreshadow for later. And the rest of it I poured into this mold of some columns I made a while back, just so that I don't waste any of it.
So I moved it over here, hopefully to level it out so it doesn't overflow. This guy's looking good in there. Everything looks pretty good.
Wish me luck and see you tomorrow.
These two, dog first, weapon skill 4 into weapon skill 1.
Counters for within age. How do we rule these things?
I think,
I'm gonna be.
It's Sunday, the day after the Mordheim campaign, and it was a lot of fun. We ended up playing 5 scenarios that were written specifically for the event, and they were all themed Halloween-y, with the Headless One as the main antagonist of the campaign. My board was definitely not to the level I wanted it to be. In fact, the resin that I poured for the canal had not set even by the end of yesterday. So nearly 24 hours later, it was still gummy. In fact, a couple players had their minis fall into it, which I feel really bad about. I'm very frustrated by that. I think it might be, I suspect that the epoxy I used was maybe old, and so its curing time was extended. I don't know, but I'm hopefully by tomorrow it'll be cured and I can do any adjustments I need to do. The good news is I won 4 out of 5 matches. I played a undead warband. A lot of fun. I kind of feel guilty sometimes playing them. I've only played them one before, and I won all my matches with them last time. But I really enjoy the warband, so I think I might play that the next league I do. Just yeah. I have a lot of work to do on these boards still. They're not to the level I want them to be, so I'm going to, now that I don't have the pressure of a deadline, I'm going to take my time and work on them and finish everything. The houses still need a little bit of work, so I will work on that as well. But for now, I am resting. I'm not doing anything today. I am tired. What was it, like 8 hours of gaming? Started at 10:30. It might have ended at 7. Never mind. It was like almost 9 hours. But yeah, it's rest time. So, yeah. All right. Bye.